Salaam aleikum. My topic today is titled, Exposing Wafa Sultan. First of all, go to Wikipedia and see what she has to say about Islam. Most importantly, take a look at the titles of her books, which many Muslims, and I believe they insult Allah. According to her, she left Islam because of a terrorist attack that took place in University of Aleppo while she was a student there, where Professor Yusuf al-Yusuf, who was her instructor, was killed by the Muslim Brotherhood. However, according to a man who is hiding his true identity and named himself Adnan Halabi, he knows her and her husband, and says that at the time al-Yusuf was assassinated, Sultan was not attending at the university. According to Halabi, Dr. Wafa Sultan arrived in California with her husband Malfid, now changed to David, in the late 80s on a tourist visa. Contrary to what she told the New York Times, they came as a couple leaving their 2 children back in Syria. Halabi alleges that Al-Hamamid, Sultan's sister, lived as an illegal resident with her for years, until she met an Arab Christian named Khalid Musa Shahadeh, whom she married. It was during that time that he got to know the Sultans well. Halabi goes on to say that the Sultans lived in dire poverty and they were forced to rent out a room, and Sultan had to work at a pizza parlor in Norwalk, California. As to the claim that her professor thought to be Yusuf al-Yusuf was gunned down before her eyes in a faculty classroom at the University of Aleppo, Halabi said the incident never took place. There was a professor who was killed around 1979, that is true, but it was off campus and Sultan was not even around when it happened. In Focus, a company I will talk about later, contacted the University of Aleppo and spoke to Dr. Riyad Asfari, Dean of the Faculty of Medicine, who confirmed Halabi's account. Yes, the assassination took place off campus, he said. Dr. Asfari was keen to add that no one had ever been killed in a classroom, anytime, or anywhere at the university. Syrian expatriate Ghada Mohsin, who attended the University of Aleppo in 1979 as a sophomore, told In Focus that she never heard of the assassination. We would have known about the killing if it had happened, she said. It would have been big news on campus, and I do not recall ever hearing about it. Mohsin, who lives in Glendora, California, added that government security was always present around the university, given the political climate in Syria at the time. This proves that Sultan is not only an opportunist, she is a liar as well. One thing to notice also is that she contradicts herself. On one hand, she considers herself a Muslim. On the other hand, she says, I have decided to fight Islam. Please pay attention to my statement, to fight Islam, not the political Islam, not the militant Islam, not the radical Islam, not the Wahhabi Islam, but Islam itself. Islam has never been misunderstood. Islam is the problem. Muslims have to realize that they have only 2 choices, to change or to be crushed. There is a very interesting website which I recommend. It is islamawareness.com, where you can find a lot of information about Wafa Sultan under the anti-Muslim writers category. First, is she a reformist or an opportunist? Well, the answer is simple after you read the facts. First point, according to the site, all of a sudden, and out of obscurity, Sultan found herself the center of both attention and controversy. On the one hand, she became the darling of many right-wing media pundits, and mainly pro-Israel groups, who viewed her as a beacon of reform that stood up to what was wrong with Islam and Muslims. On the other hand, Muslims contended that by making broad, unfounded, and ignorant proclamations about their faith, Sultan was nothing more than a pawn, playing into the hands of Islamophobes, and an opportunist who intentionally pushed the divide between the Islamic world and the West, to further ulterior motives that included fame, fortune, and immortality. Second point, post-September 11th, Sultan reportedly began writing for an Islamic reform website called Innate the Critic, run by a Syrian expatriate in Phoenix. She wrote an angry essay about the Muslim Brotherhood, and her writings eventually drew the attention of Al Jazeera television, which invited her to debate, first an Algerian Islamist in July 2005, and then Dr. Ibrahim Al-Khawli, a lecturer at the prestigious Al-Azhar University in February 2006. New York Times, March 11, 2006. It was the second debate, excerpts of which were translated and circulated by memory, that garnered her worldwide attention. Sultan went from obscurity to fame in a matter of weeks. Fact, if Wafa Sultan wanted peace, she would be involved in peaceful organizations instead of fighting those she considers the enemies of modernity in the West. Also, she would not approve of the State of Israel, who after the attacks on Gaza, both Muslims and non-Muslims today regarded as a terrorist state due to Zionism. All Sultan wants is to gain money and recognition, two of the most important things people who want attention desire. Inshallah, I will provide more information in the next episode. Please stay tuned. Thank you, and masalama.